Okay, we're live. I am in the woods. Brian is not. So anyway, man, thanks for coming on, Brian.
Oh yeah. Taking it easy. It's too hot for me.
Well, it's not too bad out here. It's very humid. Last night I got ran out of here early because a thunderstorm moved in, and we had a golf ball size hail
Really
down here. And yeah, I got home just in time to avoid the hail and parked my truck under the trees out front. So
nice.
avoided much damage anyway. I think I got a little bit, but hey, who we got over here in chat already? We got a few. We got let me
I don't
scroll
think
down
I'm.
here. I'm doing all this on my cell phone. So we got Amon
Yeah. Like,
Chris, Gary Spock Sr.,
well, hey, Gary.
Mark. I think we both know Gary, don't we?
Yeah.
No, Amon, he's a regular. How you doing? Mark, David Perkins, that's my buddy from out west there. Um, yeah, David, it is officially fall and camping season, but Oklahoma doesn't know it today because yesterday is like 94 and today it's in the 80s, but it's horribly humid out here.
Mm.
I just read off an old historical report from British Columbia, the J.W. Burns, Chehalis Reservation there from that. And my pages were actually wet from just being out here in this humidity. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
my
yeah.
God.
David Perkins makes a very good point here. Oklahoma never gets the memo. And that
No.
that is very true. So
Yeah.
anyway, I'm just out here and made a camp spot and planning on camping this evening anyway, and thought, if I can get good enough signal, I'm going to go live. So just been out
Mm.
here kicking back most of the day, and uh, Brian from Red Dirt Cryptid Investigations. He actually joined me last time that we did a live show, and so he
I was
decided to
taking it
come on.
easy then too, wasn't I?
Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, Brian, for anybody that wasn't here last time that may not know about it, I hear you've got a new book out that you just released.
Yeah. You can get it on Amazon. It's called. Let's see here if I can figure this out. Oklahoma Cryptozoology 101. Basically, it's about all the cryptids that are commonly reported within the Oklahoma area. We don't have a whole lot of, uh, you know, I don't talk about chupacabras in there, or anything like that. The ones that are just not reported, just the ones that are in the Sooner State. And I go through and I talk about a little bit. It's kind of like the term 101 implies it's like an entry level thing,
Okay.
and that way, it just gives you some broad topic on things like, little people, dog men, deer woman. We actually talk about deer woman in that one, but I'm still not entirely sure that she's. I don't think she's really a cryptid, but I don't know. I just thought that it was interesting because there's not a whole lot of information out there, and a lot of times she's portrayed as being a cryptid. But we talk about Sasquatch in there too, and I even do my best to debunk the Oklahoma octopus theory. So,
Yeah, that would be quite a deal, wouldn't
mm,
it? Um,
yeah, that's been a real source of irritation for me, because people
well,
always ask you about it.
you brought up. I'm going to get this question real here to you because it's to you, Brian. Gary Spikes Senior says, "What
Hmm.
part of the state are you from?"
I live in Enid, northwestern part of the state. So,
Oh,
yeah,
it's
I'm
interesting.
kind of far up there.
Yeah.
So, a lot of people would not think that northwest Oklahoma has the habitat that's necessary to house these cryptids. But that's actually not true at all. If you go to my YouTube channel and you watch some of my videos where I'm out at Fort Supply or Canton or even Salt Plains or what, I mean, anywhere there's a river, there is deep, dark woods,
Right.
on both sides, going all the way back up in there. There's a lot of habitat for them to survive in. And I even argue with people that there's more food sources in northwest Oklahoma than there is down southeastern Oklahoma. Because, well, let's just face it. I mean, we've got more deer than you guys do.
Really. Well, I mean, you
Yeah.
bring up a good point. A lot of people don't realize. I mean, most people, myself included, till I actually got older and went to that part of the state, think of northwest or western Oklahoma as nothing but prairie and farms,
Yep.
nothing else. But there is actually, and I've seen this firsthand just recently. Me and my wife went up to Colorado Springs, and on the way back, we cut through the Panhandle in northwest Oklahoma up there. There is more open country in that part of the state with no one living on it than anywhere else in the state. Yes, southeastern Oklahoma has thicker woods and more of it, but there's also a lot more people down here.
Yeah. That's what I always tell people is there's two things you gotta have for a Sasquatch encounter. You gotta have a Sasquatch, oop, wrong finger, and you gotta have a person. And if you don't have a person there, I mean, it stands to reason that a county with a higher population would have a higher, a higher level of reports.
Mhm.
And most people don't realize this, but if you take McCurtain, LaFleur, and Pottawatomie County, and you put those three counties, their populations together, there's more people in those three counties than there is in all of northwestern Oklahoma if you exclude Garfield County, which is where I live.
Okay.
I mean, we've got counties up here that only have 4,000, 3,000 people in them in the whole
Oh
county.
yeah, yeah.
And so it just stands to reason that we would have a lot less reports up here just simply because we don't have the volume of people. One could even argue that it's possible that we have just as many Bigfoot, Sasquatch, or whatever you call them, as you guys do. It's just that we don't have the same amount of people that are running into them. It. I'm not going to go toe to toe with anybody on that argument, but it's a
Right,
valid
right.
hypothesis that deserves some thought. So, I mean, it's hard to prove, just like just about anything else in our little work. So, let's just say,
Well, Brian dropped off. There he is.
oh, hey.
Amon Chris said, if a Sasquatch falls in the woods and there's nobody there to see it, dot, dot, dot. Good
Mm-hmm.
point. You got to have a person to see it to get a report. But
Uh,
yeah, that's one thing that when we were driving back through there, and even the far southeastern corner of Colorado where it touches Oklahoma and New Mexico, that is just a vast. That we drove in, I believe it was the Comanche National grasslands
Grassland. Yeah.
there in southeastern Colorado, and it's not just flat prairie. I mean, it's mesas everywhere. I think that's the furthest I ever drove without seeing any sign of humanity except the very road we were on. No
Yeah.
fences, no highline poles. And I thought, man, for something to hide out here, they wouldn't even really have to hide, you know.
They've got a saying out there. They say there's a pretty girl behind every tree.
Yeah, if you could find the tree.
Ah, ha, ha, ha. Yeah. Now, it's funny that you bring that up. When I first started going out there to do work, I used to do service work all over Northwest Oklahoma. And I used to take care of a grocery store in Guyman. And I was in there one day, and all the guys from the meat market were talking about deer hunting. And, where my family's farm is, we've got a whole bunch of trees and, we've
Mhm.
got creeks, and we're right there on the Cimarron River. And I'm sitting here thinking, how in the hell do these guys hunt deer? And because I seen deer on the side of the road, they've been hit by trucks and whatnot. But I was just like, how do these guys hunt them? I mean, how do you hunt out of a deer stand when there's no cover? And so I asked them, and they said, oh, we just get in our trucks and we drive around till we bust one up out of the grass. And if it's big enough, we shoot it. And I
Wow.
was like, are you sitting there? Yeah. And I mean, they shoot big deer down there. They're huge. It's sometimes, I mean, it's just mind blowing. So some of our preconceived, ideas are wrong about that area. I mean, there's more coyotes up there than we can even imagine. I mean, coyote hunters go up there with greyhounds and kill dogs, and they go up there, and I mean, they'll kill 50 coyotes in a night.
Yep.
It's just the damnedest thing you ever seen.
Midnight Venture says best place to be on a Saturday or Sunday night is here enjoying the stories and Oklahoma scenery. Yeah, anytime to be in the woods is a good time.
Yeah, or the
For
recliner.
sure. Do I now? You're probably more comfortable where you're at, but it's not bad out here. The temperature's pretty good. But hey, I want to talk a little bit about something you mentioned earlier when you mentioned the deer woman and how you don't really see that. I'm make sure I don't word it wrong, but don't really see that as fitting as a cryptid. As
Mm-hmm.
far as, and you and I have talked about some other reported strange critters that people lump into this category that and I don't know if you and I agree on this part or not, but like dog man, okay, like I'm of the opinion that excluding what you saw, which was a quadrupedal, just really large wolf-like animal. I'm talking about what's reported by a lot of people as a bipedal um, werewolf-looking thing. I've,
Right.
I'm of the opinion that if that is real, that it's not a cryptid, but more into the paranormal realm, possibly even the demonic or something. Simply because I don't, and this is just me talking here, I don't see that as a naturally reproducing biological entity.
Mm-hmm.
And would the deer woman fall under that same type of category? And even further, the little people, I really wouldn't see what people describe as the little people being what we would lump in as a cryptid. Go ahead,
Uh,
take the ball and run.
well, as far as Dogman goes, you really don't know till you look under their tail. No, I'm just kidding. Uh, you know,
Now,
I we've talked about, yeah.
I hope you haven't done that.
No, I'm trying to quit. Um, no, but you know, it's kind of one of those things. If you're not up close and personal, it's kind of hard to tell. Like me, I mean, my sighting was from a distance, and it was pretty close, but it looked real to me. But I didn't see hands or claws or anything. The one that I saw never, got up and walked or ran bipedally. Um,
Right.
so and I'm doing my best to try to piece together that and try to do that. Now, Deer Woman, on the other hand, is kind of a different set of apples, I guess you'd say, because the legend has is that she seeks out um, unfaithful men or men with dark
Hmm.
hearts, and
Gotcha.
she murders them, and as the
Wow.
story goes, she listens, she hears the cries of hurt women, and she responds or comes to their rescue or something like that. I mean, that's not an attribute that you would put on a natural creature, and
Right.
people don't, you know another thing is for the most part women don't see uh, her unless it's at a dance or something like
Hmm.
that. Most of the time when she appears only to men. So
Wow.
that in itself is kind of like probably more spiritual in nature. Now the
Hey, I
little
want to
people,
take,
yeah.
go ahead. Go ahead. Finish your thought
Well,
there.
I was going to switch gears and go to the little people.
Okay.
Okay. The little people, though, the stories about them are usually very fleeting. Most people run into them. and it just happens. They catch a glimpse of it, it runs away. There's a whole. I go into it a lot deeper in the book, but there's a whole lore, and a lot of the different tribes, the indigenous tribes, they have their own legends and about these little people, and they have their own. And some of them fear them, and some of them think that they're good, but all of them agree that you've got to treat them with respect because they have, I guess you'd say, powers. You know how people say that Bigfoot can zap you or whatnot. They say little people can make you forget things. They can cause you to forget who you are, and you'll get lost and in the woods, and you'll get turned around, and you'll do all kinds of dumb stuff. And they say that they can actually make you forget how to speak, and you can lose your
Huh.
speech abilities. And there's a lot of these weird stories, but on the flip side of that, the little people legends, they're all over the world too, just like Sasquatch. Europe is famous for them. You probably heard them called
Mm.
fairies. Um, the difference is those fly, I guess, but they have little people, legends for indigenous people all over the globe, and they have different attributes, they have different mannerisms and behaviors, but for the most part, they all kind of match up, very similar to the ways that the Sasquatch, the Yeti, the Yeren, the all the other ones, the Almasties, how they share a lot of similarities from continent to continent. These little people are eerily similar too, but I think people are a lot less likely to report seeing a little person, uh, primarily because Bigfoot has become socially acceptable almost.
Pop culture.
Yeah, pop culture. Little people, not so much. And I think a lot of times when people catch a glimpse of one in the grass or something and it disappears, they convince themselves that they didn't see anything. So I,
Hey, thanks, David. Appreciate that. I'm sure Brian does too. David Chance says, just got here. Love both of your channels. Hey, I want to take just
thanks,
one
sir.
second out here to give a shout out to my buddy Will Star from Will Star Monsters and Mysteries. He's in the chat here. If you guys haven't
I will.
checked his channel out, I highly recommend it. He shares a lot of the old historical accounts, and I've been looking
Sure.
into this stuff a long time, and I pick up something new from his channel uh, once in a while.
Oh
So
yeah,
yeah, check out Will Star's channel there too. And somebody
I
else.
enjoy it.
What you mentioned that um, how some people say that the Sasquatch or Bigfoot can make people forget or and such as that. That made me think about my friend Per Bowlegs from Wewoka. He was in um, Bigfootville in one part of it, and he worked at that time at the Seminole Museum there in Wewoka, and he was on Bigfootville. He is saying some of the names for Bigfoot in his tribal language, and one of them I can't remember. I'm not even going to try to pronounce it, but
Yeah,
anyway, we ought to get Pear on here sometime. But anyway, one of the names for it, he said, means to forget.
yeah,
So that's now I'll let me say this. I've never experienced anything like being zapped or anything like that when I'm in the woods. At least not that I can remember.
yeah, yeah.
on on that note, but anyway, I just but you bringing that up reminded me that he on one of the names that he had for it said in Seminole, literally translated into to forget.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I've heard that myself too, although I wasn't aware that it was Seminole. So that's cool. I don't
let's see. And
I don't know. I've never forgotten anything. So except my keys. So
Now, this is interesting here. Chris Kimball said in Creek Seminole culture, little people are more of a thing than Sasquatch.
Yeah.
And Brian, it may simply be as far as in a, and I want to come back to this and talk about where you and I visited the other night about how popular culture affects the number of different cryptids that's being cited and stuff. So definitely want to revisit that. Uh, and now
Yeah.
I said that I totally lost my train of thought. What was I saying? You ever do that?
Well, pop culture is it's a factor. We can pretend that it's not, but it is. You know, we're constantly turning on the TV, watching this stuff. You know, I'm on this big kick. This nonfiction kick. You know, a couple of years ago, I figured out that it's hard to tell the difference sometimes between a fictional story and a real story. And now we live in this time where you've got all these ghost writers writing using AI to write
Oh,
stories, you know.
yeah.
And yeah, man, I'm telling you, I'm you know, it's like you've got to be very careful what you are putting into your head because 5 years from now, you won't remember if that story that you remember is fiction or real. And so there's a lot of these guys that I don't listen to anymore that are really good orators. They've got really good storytelling
Mhm.
capability. They've got, you know, awesome YouTube channels, but I can't put that kind of crap in my head. And this has been something that's been bothering me for a long time is, you know, I've always told people, you know, hey, you know, I will never knowingly post, you know, something that's not real on my page. Everything
Mhm.
that I post on my page, to the best of my knowledge, is legit, or at least I believe it's legit. And that's kind of something that I'm working on because, you know, with everything that's going on right now, it seems like all the hoaxing and the nonfiction, the fiction stuff is ramping up to an all time high. And we've got all these, you know, channels out here that their primary concern is generating revenue instead of
Right.
telling the truth. And
Um, my
yeah,
friend Cornell, he's not in chatter. If he may be listening, I don't know, but who has the No Such Thing podcast, made a very good point the other day. He said if there were as many Bigfoot out there that people are reporting, we'd find them dead all over the road from getting hit. And that's I agree with that. Now, man, that's opens up such a big discussion. Going back to popular culture, when I first started looking into this, um, like seriously back in the mid '90s, I could still once in a while um, come across like, and usually an older person that had never heard of a Bigfoot. Okay, it was rare back then, but still once in a while. One was a guy that was riding horses down in southeast Oklahoma, and one walked out in the trail in front of him. And he lived a very isolated life, broke horses for a living. And he asked me, he said, "What are these things? Are they apes?" And I was like, "Well, we really don't know, but people do report seeing them." But nowadays, I don't know how you'd find somebody that didn't know what a Bigfoot was supposed to look like or this and that. And
right,
I use this example sometime, and I might have on this show. I don't know. And I'm not talking about people absolutely hoaxing. I'm talking about mistaken identity or perception, because our perceptions, uh, for instance, I'm going to bring this up. Last year at Honubby, uh, which I spoke there, one of the other speakers was a gentleman named Pete Buffalo Head, and he
right.
was, I can't remember what tribe he was. He was from up around
Honka
Ponca
Nation.
City, I think. Ponca. Okay. Now here's where you've heard people talk about orbs and and such as that. Um, one night we was outside the cabin we're staying in there at Honubby, and I looked down at the woods. There's like three of these, for lack of a better word, orbs kind of drifting along there. And I said, Pete, do you see that? He said, yeah, I see those. So, okay, we both see them, right? I start walking down toward them because I'm like going, wow, I always uh, wanted to see one of these things or more, whatever. And I'd walked a little ways, and Pete told me, he said, Dave, he said, don't follow those. And I'm like, well, why not? Because here I am saying, how hot and dry summer it was. I'm thinking these orbs are some atmospheric phenomenon involving static electricity, blah, blah, blah. Pete, very different view on it. He said, those are the little people. He said, if you follow them, they'll lead you out into the woods and get you lost. Okay. We both saw we both saw the exact same thing, but both of us had two very different perceptions of it. Neither of us were lying, but we both had a different percent. And the same thing falls into other things like that as well. I need to say a thank you right now. Midnight Ventures, $5. Man, that's very nice, man. I appreciate that. And Bigfootville will always be my favorite old school documentary. Um, Thank you, but that makes me feel old. So
Oh, God.
that's all right though, man. I appreciate that. And honestly, man, I've viewed Bigfootville as one of the last actual documentaries that they play on like Discovery and Travel, and that's like most of, and this is not me putting down anybody, but most of the new stuff seems like reality TV, to where they build up the commercial like some big thing is going to show itself, and then you're right back and it's like, oh, it was a squirrel or something like that. But that's entertainment. Entertainment works its way into it. Gary, yes, I am. They Troy asked me at the end of it last year if I would come next year, and I said, sure will. And somebody, I got to put this up there. This goes back to what we were talking about, Brian. Says there are channels that have script writers making up encounter stories for them. And I am not going to name the channels, but I will say this: one of them, I pretty much knew it anyway, because it's like going, you know, I mean, they were just so over the top ridiculous. I'm like going, these have got to be made up. And but there was another one that I had thought fairly credible, and it turned out that they were one that had script writers and stuff. Now, here's how you can tell, Brian, and anybody want to prove me wrong. The ones that seem like they do the fictional stories in bulk, claiming that they are legit stuff, have a huge, massive following and make a lot of money on it. Okay. I'm, I know I'm not going to make a lot of money on this. I'm not trying to, you know. Yeah, I will. Did taking your phone out to try and get some footage of the orbs cross your mind in the moment, or were they too far away? And that's you didn't try. The former is what I believe happens a lot. Honestly, Will, I was not even thinking of them in the term of being anything supernatural at all. And to be honest with you, at that time, my phone was on the charger in my truck, so it wouldn't have done me a lot of good at the time anyway. But I even if I had, there weren't anything. I mean, from that distance, they just looked like small balls of light out at the edge of the woods. I mean, it wasn't anything scary or like I said, I'm looking at them. I'm not thinking anything supernatural or anything like that until Pete, was there and he put that in my head. He says, no, those are the little people. Now, since then, um, I've heard that in certain cultures that the um, little people appear as orbs of light or whatever. So that is part of uh, certain tribal folklore, maybe a lot more than I know. I'm definitely not an expert on tribal folklore. Um,
I think Pete said something too. Maybe it was Pete. Maybe it was some other indigenous
Mosquitoes are
dog.
here.
What?
Go ahead. I said
Mosquitoes?
mosquitoes are here. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think he said that if they're down close to the ground, that they're little people, but if they're up high, like 6, 7 foot, that they're Sasquatch. Was that,
Okay.
did Pete say that, or am I getting my people confused?
Well, Pete, at the conference last year, he talked a lot about the different, legends and folklore of
Oh yeah, it
his
was dark.
tribe. So it was interesting. Charlotte Copeland, by the way, Charlotte and Chris are watching. They told me to tell you.
Yeah, hi guys.
Chris Rams,
Happy
Chris
birthday,
Ramsey
Chris.
saw orbs at Honubby with Dee Sims. I remember Dee. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, she's a nice lady.
Hmm.
And here's Cryptid Crystal. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. And thanks for stopping by, everybody. David Perkins, are we able to be privy to the whereabouts of the new campsite? Well, I mean, it's actually on my family's property, so um, I'm I'm not way down in the Kiamichi Mountains because when I'm down there, where I go a lot, there's no cell phone signal for uh, gosh, 20 miles from where I go. So this on our is on our property, and I mean, it's really heavily wooded, but it's not probably about a 20-minute drive from my house, so it's not that remote. Um, see, David said so. Anyway, it's not in the middle of absolute nowhere. Hi, Chris says thanks. So,
Yeah, I
so what
personally I've never seen an orb. So,
I
but
never
I'm
had up to that point, but I
yeah.
thought, and I'm going to use that probably when I speak at Honubby this year about perceptions, and that's why we need to be very, I think, careful whether a person's saying they saw a Bigfoot, a dog man, a little person, or this and that. Even if it's not really what they saw, it's what it could be well what they believe they saw. And
Right.
and we should all, and I'm not meaning to put, you know, um, put down anyone at all, but we could all, like for instance, I had one person report a what they believed in the area by your mom's. Well, not terribly far, Will, um, but not real close either. What was I about to say? Okay, had a person report what they were saying was a dog man, but
Hmm.
the way it was described, I'm like, you're describing a black bear to a T. No, it was dog man. It's like, no, you literally, it was bulky. It was down on all fours. You startled it. It stood up and then went back down on all fours and ran through the woods. And the way they describe it's like you are describing a black bear that you startled and it stood up. And I've seen one do that before. When I was driving my truck, come around a corner, and it was over there by Clayton. This about 20 years ago. There's a big black bear walking down the middle of the road, it's dirt road in front of me. And when I come around the corner, it saw me and it stood up on its hind legs. And then just there's a like a hill on this side with heavily wooded. And it just kind of looked like it fell toward that wood line. As soon as those front paws hit the ground, boom, it took off into the woods.
Hmm.
But yeah, that again, perception can have a big influence.
Yeah, I think a lot of
And
times
and this in cryptic crystally said, I've been fooled several times. We all can. Um,
yeah.
like yesterday, Brian, when I was taking pictures of the woods back there. Talked about pareidolia. That's another very, very big deal. I snapped a picture of a big oak tree, and from that, you blow it up, and then the pareidolia, as it starts to blur, it looks like a face peering out from behind that tree. You know what I did? I walked back to the tree to see if it was still there. When I got up close to it, I could see exactly what looked like a face from 75 yards through the woods, taking a picture and then blowing it up. I don't want to be wrong about that stuff. If I think I've got a Bigfoot in the area or whatever, I want to know. So,
Mm.
anyway, your
They'll run
thought.
away anyway.
Oh, wait, it's not my dog man call. It's all about being prepared. You see,
Oh,
you just got to have the stuff ready just in case. I did
heck
that
yeah.
just I did that just for Brian, you know. Anyway, uh, so what do we got here?
Oh,
Real Star, Don C. That was hilarious. It was. What happened? Trying
uh-oh.
not to mess anything up. Here's what I was looking for. David Perkins said my family all saw orbs once, but of course I wasn't lucky enough to be there when it happened. Yeah, is that.
Figures, huh?
I done something to the screen which made it look different.
Probably touched it with your thumb.
Well, I don't want to mess it up.
It did
The
just get
whistle,
darker all of a sudden.
yeah, Don, he put on here that was great. Sorry, appreciate red dirt goes out. Well, this is a good one too. I appreciate how red dirt goes out to the people and shows investigations. Yeah, that is
Mm. That's what I
that's a
love
very
doing. If,
beneficial thing.
if people are willing to, show me where it happened and give me their interview, that's one of my favorite things in the world is to go out and do on-site interviews. It's just, a lot of people are skittish about that, and I try to tell them, I'm like, the only people that are going to see it is people that believe in the first place, So it is what it is. That's my favorite thing in the world, though.
Yeah, Don said that was great. The whistle and the bag of food. Yeah, I almost didn't do that. I was out there making a video of another historical encounter that I wanted to share, and that making the deal with the bag of dog biscuits and hitting the tree. That was a spur of the moment deal. And honestly, at first, I was just going to send that to Brian and my friend Shelly Harris because they're really heavily into the dogman investigation thing. And then I thought, well, what the heck? I'll just put it on there. And um, most people got my sense of humor. I guess I did make a few people mad because I got a few dislikes on it, but
A few,
it's all in it's all in good humor.
like you've got like 1,200 views on that one. I
No,
looked the other day.
it's more like 2,600.
Are you serious?
Yeah,
Oh my
it's
God.
like, uh,
Oh,
but
that's terrible. That's
yeah,
terrible.
I
Oh,
really messed up my screen over here. There you go.
we can still see you. It just looks dark.
Well, it
So,
is dark.
but maybe your phone just adapted or adjusted.
No, it's over here on the where the comments are. It's kind of scrunched it down a little bit. Amon Chris said, "Did you have the biscuits on hand?" Um, Actually, no. It's an empty bag. It's just a prop, you know. Uh, so
Fun,
anytime.
fun fact, I always carry a dog whistle with me.
Here's
That's not
David
true.
Chance said, "I like Red Dirt's drone shot too."
Oh, yeah, I just got a new drone. I've been playing with that. One of these days, I'll learn how to fly it smoothly so it looks all professional. So, the heck was that?
Huh?
Dave, is that you?
No, I'm afraid it's the scariest thing that has ever been to camp with me.
I hope you got your gun.
It's the dreaded rubber chicken.
Oh my God.
Ah, okay. There's a story for this. Okay. My granddaughter just turned a year old, and my mother got this toy for her. And instead of it sounding funny, it sounds horrific. So I said, I'm going to bring that to the camp tonight.
It's all fun and games till you call in a dog man. I hear
You know,
they have a
that's what I said earlier. I said, it's funny unless something answered it.
that would be terrible.
But on a serious note, there's a lot of coyotes out here. I wonder if they would think
It
they would
could
think that was
it
food.
sounds like a death rattle.
It does, doesn't it? Hey, there's Pyromedic. How you
Hey
doing, man?
Pyro.
Good to see you. Uh,
Hey.
you going to Honubby this year, Pyro? Bad dog, man. Bad dog. Okay. Okay.
Uh,
I'm sure you did not hear that, but an owl just hooted off in the distance. I wonder, the owl may think that rubber chicken's something to eat. So,
might be a mating call.
I hope not. Hope it's not a Sasquatch mating call. By myself
No.
out.
Oh,
Paramedic,
cool,
good,
Pyro.
good. Look forward
I'll
to
see you
seeing you.
there.
Hey, how many people in the chat is going to the Honubby festival this year? If you just put up there, I think Brian, you're going, right?
Yeah, yeah, I'll be there.
Cool.
How many people are in the chat
Interesting.
right now?
We got 31 in there right now. Got a pretty good number.
Wow.
Um,
If any of you guys are at the Hanabi conference and you see me, uh, hit me up. I'll hook you up with one of my stickers that I just had printed up. I should have about 40 on hand, and I just give them away. So
Trying to get the screen under control here. There's Gary. Okay. I'm scrolling and I'm accidentally putting people up on the screen too. So, uh,
I don't know how to do all that.
Gary Spike said he's going to be there on Saturday.
Oh,
Okay, here we go. Here's a question for you, Brian. This is from Charlotte Copeland. So tell us about the tree break while you were on investigation on video, says Chris.
okay. Yeah, that was one of the craziest things. You hear about that happen. I was at a place in northeast Oklahoma, and I was out there with Eric Schrader, and him and I were out there, just the two of us, and we had found this area that was in a wildlife management area that you could tell from satellite imagery that it had marshes on it. And so we went out there, never been there before, but we had scouted it using Google Earth. And we get out there and we're walking around, and the marsh is actually kind of flooded, which was shocking. But this has just been a really weird year. We've had a lot more rain than we normally do during the summer. But I set up usually I have like two cell phones with me, and I set up my old cell phone on a tripod, and Eric and I started walking down along the bank, and there was like no wind, no sound, no nothing. Everything was super quiet. And then all of a sudden, something pushed a tree over, a very large tree that was on the other side of this marsh. And I mean, you could hear the wood popping, cracking, everything. And the sound on the video doesn't really do it justice. In real time, I mean, it was loud, and I
Hmm.
was shocked. You could tell that it was a live tree. We have plans on going back and going over there and looking for this tree that got pushed over. I know exactly where it came from. I actually did a pin drop of it before I left. So we know pretty much exactly where to look. But we actually caught it on tape. You could hear it. And
Really?
yeah, and I'm just kind of sitting there mind blown, because you hear about this stuff on TV, but it's very rare when it happens to you in real life. And shit you not, Eric turns around and looks at me, serious as a heart attack, and he goes, "Do you think that was the wind?" And I'm like, because there was no wind. It was just dead still, quiet. And I'm sitting here thinking, do we need to get the hell out of here or
Oh,
what? That was kind of uncharted territory, but I was super stoked about it. We did catch it on video. It's in my video. I'm not exactly sure which video it's in right now. You know, um, Trying to think. It'd probably be one of my northeastern Oklahoma videos that I've done in the last. This was within the last 6 months.
really?
Um,
So current. Very
oh yeah, yeah. It was several campouts ago, but I don't remember the name of the exact video. But man, it was really cool because you could tell that was a big tree. I mean,
right.
I was just like, I'm sitting over here
So
like, wow,
you
and
got the
Eric was,
sound of it. You caught it on your video.
yeah, yeah.
Oh well, shit! I'm gonna have to go back and check that out. Hey, do you know the answer to this question, Brian? And Pyro said, "Do you? Who did they get to take Pete Buffalo Head's spot this year?" Um,
Um,
Man, I can't even tell you who the other speakers are. I know there's a fellow last name of Hightower that's speaking.
Lance,
I
yeah, he's a
think
dogman
Is it
guy.
Chuck Schlab or Schlob? Is he speaking?
No, I don't think he is. He would have told me.
Um,
Um, um, Ask Charlotte and Chris. Do
yeah,
you guys?
Charlotte and Chris. Do you know if you guys know who the other speakers are? Would you guys
I'm
mind
drawing a Yeah, I'm drawing
posting
a
that
total
in the
blank on
chat?
this right now.
Because mainly I don't know any of them personally. Matter of fact, I don't believe I've ever met any of them. Um, and just found out like recently that Pete wasn't going to be able to make it uh, this year.
He was definitely interesting. So kind of sad that he's not going to be there this year. He had family um, stuff that he had to go to.
Oh
That's what
yeah.
that's what
Okay. We've got Charlotte Copeland said Lance Hightower and Shane Carpenter. And there's one, oh, Brian Hoolan.
Yes. Oh God, yes. Brian Hoolan.
Okay.
Brian Hoolan and Shane Church are going to. They've got 2 hour sections, and they're going to
Is it
split them.
Shane Church or Shane Carpenter?
Shane Church and
Okay.
Brian Hoolan
Charlotte said
from the.
Shane Carpenter. But
Yeah, it's Southern Bigfoot Alliance.
yeah, okay.
You've probably met them before. They're the ones that found that giant 16-inch footprint down by Heelton a couple years ago. You've probably seen the cast.
I
They
might
were,
have met I met one of those guys at I did a book signing with John Vandeventer at the
yeah,
Tallahena Bigfoot Museum, and I think one of those guys uh, was there. I could be wrong, but somebody with something called Southern Bigfoot Alliance was around there, and I thought it was kind of funny because back in the day, my website was called the Southern Bigfoot Association,
right, right.
and that
Yeah,
was my
they're
gosh, that's
both.
20. Gosh, that was over 20 years ago.
Yeah, they're both really good guys. They're class acts. They've been around doing it a long time.
Okay.
I'll warn you though, they're kind of ornery. You better watch out. So, uh,
Well, I can do
hey,
honorary with the
good
best of
squad.
them. There's Can Squatch. Good to see you, man. They have the Cryptoholic show. Okay.
Yeah, that's part of their orneriness. I'll say
I
this
don't
though.
guess I've I don't I don't guess I've seen it.
Yeah. Well, Dave, I'll be honest with you. I don't. I mean, it may seem like I do a lot of this stuff, but I don't follow a lot of the shows. And who
You
has
know,
time for all that?
I really don't either, Brian. I try to check in with the, the people that, um, yeah, the last 20 years has flown by. It's not slowing down any either, as it will. Um, but yeah, I mean, if you followed everybody's show, you wouldn't have time to do anything else. I try to pop in like to your channel and others as people that I'm friends with, and drop some likes, some thumbs up on there, try to do my part. But, I don't have a lot of time to do that. When are you going to make a return to Bigfootville? Probably never unless I made it myself, you know. Uh, and I mean, I enjoyed it. That was once in a lifetime experience, and I'm glad I did it. You know, it was fun, and I
Class.
think I thought they did a pretty good job. I remember when the producer from over in England contacted me. Bruce Burgess is his name. He's still very active, making different um, documentaries about different things. But the stipulation I gave him when I agreed to work with him, I said, "Here's what I want, though." I said, "Just promise me that you won't make me or anyone that I introduce you to on this look stupid, because sometimes they do that on
Oh yeah.
shows." And he goes, "But what if they make themselves look stupid?" I said, "Well, I can't control that. That's on them if they do." But anyway, and he didn't. The only thing on there that I wish he had not edited that way was when Dan Bell, the police officer that him and the other guy had their sighting when they were camping, is they had been target shooting earlier that evening before they had that face-to-face encounter with the Sasquatch up there. And did you hear that? It's an owl, and it's pretty close. That's pretty cool. Anyway, he asked him, he said, "Would you shoot a couple of rounds?" And there's a berm in the woods. There's a big dirt mound that you couldn't see on that. And he said, "Would you fire a couple of shots into that like you were doing that night?" He said, "Sure." And he did. And of course, the way it was edited is right at like a climax of events where people were saying they were seeing things. And it kind of come out looking like Dan was protecting the camp from the rampaging Sasquatch and stuff. And it was nothing of the sort. And I've spent years uh, with people saying, "Man, that guy should have never had a gun." Blah blah. It's like, look, no one or no thing was ever in any danger. He wasn't shooting at anything. There was a dirt mound he was shooting into by instructions. So that was really the only thing in that documentary I wish they had not done. But all in all, uh, what's
Uh,
this? Amon Chris said, "Years ago, I pitched Bigfootville 2, Cindy's Revenge." I guess you're referring to Cindy Bear, the uh, news lady from Tulsa, which I don't know her personally. That's the only time I'd ever met her, was when she worked on that. But Bruce wanted to have a news person on there for effect or whatever, and he contacted Cindy, and she was the news lady. Now there's a mini dog person. Now
yep.
David Perkins, this is the most monumental line of that whole documentary. You smell that? Stink. Stay put. That was my good friend Tim Harjo uh, that said that, and oh, that was so hilarious. And unfortunately, Tim, he passed away from COVID a couple of years ago. So
Yeah.
yeah, Tim was a great guy, a good friend of mine. And I tell you, man, he gave them their money's worth on that. He really did. And that's what Bruce told me. We were kind of watching the outtakes and stuff there, and Tim, when he did that, I kind of laughed. He goes, "Man, David, you don't get it." He said, "In Europe, this guy's going to be a rock star." He said, yeah, he said he will, and he did. Charlotte Copeland, yep, Tim Harjo. If you ever met him, he was just you could not get around Tim without smiling. He had that personality. Very nice gentleman. I'm very sad that he passed away. Yeah, David. David Perkins said, "Me and my cousins grew up quoting that line," and I don't know how old you are, David, but my son is 27. And see, when Bigfootville came out, he was like 6, I guess, and he would just come running into a room out of nowhere, and he would stop and he'd go, "You smell that? Stink!" And then he'd run off, you know. And we'd tell Tim about that, and he would just laugh his head off about it, you know. So yeah,
Mm,
famous line from that. But
uh,
nowadays with YouTube and such as that, everybody can make their own documentaries, you know. And
oh yeah.
I'm gonna say this now. This is September. Kerry Arnold from Bigfoot Odyssey. We lost him, you know, last September,
Yeah.
September
Yeah.
13, I believe, and he did an excellent job uh, making documentaries when he would go out and do that. Squatching Cowboy, there's Joe Pass. Howdy, y'all. Yeah, storm's headed your way. Yeah, that's what I hear, and I'm uh, keeping a watch out. I'm not hearing any thunder right now, so they're still a little to the south of us. Um, let's see, Squatching Cowboy, Gary Spikes. So anyway, I'm talking too much. You talk, Brian.
I don't know. You better watch your six with that chicken. I'll tell you, you might need
Yeah,
to give that
I'm a
owl
little
another.
bit. I'm kind of concerned what I might call up with that thing.
It's all fun and games until the owl swoops down and takes the chicken out of your hand. So
Well, really, the only thing I'm really watching for is the ground around me to make sure a copperhead don't crawl under my
mhm.
chair while I'm not paying attention. But hey,
Yeah.
mention this again in the description down there. I put a link to Brian's book, Oklahoma Cryptozoology 101. If you're interested in that, and I've also got a link to mine if you're interested in reading a little bit about my research into that. Uh, but did you see? Hold yours back up there, Brian. You see, I made a book, so to make one better than me, Brian made his bigger.
Mine's not as thick.
Well, mine's not real thick, but Brian, what's
Mm-mm.
yours called? Oklahoma Cryptozoology 101.
Yep. It's got a lot of my
And
case files in there too.
and
So
mine is Kiamichi Bigfoot investigating the Oklahoma Sasquatch. Um, so if y'all are interested in either of those, I'm sure Brian would appreciate it,
yeah,
and
yeah.
as would I.
I may have a
So
few of those when I go to Hanabi too. Although I won't have a
Brian,
book. I may
really
have a booth.
seriously, you ought to. Are you going to set up a booth or anything to sell your books?
I don't know. I thought about it, but when I found out that all the I guess there's like limited space for booths, and Troy sent out a message saying that all the booths were taken or something. And I don't know that I want to spend all my time at a booth. I know that
Yeah,
sounds
see, that's kind of like, of course, last year when I was there, when I wasn't speaking, I spent the whole day there at my table. You know,
yeah. I just like
Charlotte,
mingling and talking to people.
you got to.
So
Well, yeah, I had a lot of people coming up and talking to me there too, so I really couldn't get away. When let's see, Charlotte asked when is David's new book coming out. I'm still working on it, kind of in my spare time. It says Brian, bring extra copy for me to Honubby. I'll buy one.
yeah,
There you go. See, you sold one book at Honubby anyway.
there you go. I'll probably be carrying around a backpack with some in it. So
Yeah.
Uh,
There you go. If you can't have a booth, just stuff a backpack full of them and lurk around and,
mhm.
sell them out from under.
That sounds kind of
Look,
crooked, don't it?
no,
Uh,
not at all. Man, seriously, if you bring books, you'll sell them.
mhm.
Uh,
Yeah, I'm telling you, it was uh, it was definitely a labor of love because hold on, dog's got to come back in. If I don't open the door, he'll start bawling out there. But what happened? It's kind of a funny story. My boss, I'm a teacher. I teach air conditioning at the local career tech, and they were
oh,
bugging
okay.
me. Yeah, they were bugging me about teaching. They're like, "Well, what else can you teach a class on? Can you teach a night class or something?" And I shot my mouth off and I said, "Well, I'll teach a class on cryptozoology." And they were like, "What's that?" And I said, "It's the study of animals not yet proven to science to exist yet." And they thought about it for a second and they go, "You mean like Bigfoot?" And I was like, "Yeah." And they go, "That's a good idea." And I was like, "Oh my gosh." So being a teacher, if I was going to teach a class, I had to write curriculum for that class. And that's how the book came. I realized about, I don't know, the first 4 or 5 pages into the book, I realized, I wasn't just writing a curriculum for a class, I was writing the book. And so
Mhm.
that's how it kind of came to be. So, but yeah, it was interesting. It's basically from an educational standpoint.
Mhm.
There's really no fluff and not too many jokes in it. It's just it's just about cryptids that are in Oklahoma that are reported on a regular basis. So, and there's a bunch of case files out there.
Well,
So
you gotta bring one for me to Honubby.
yeah, yeah, there's
I'll
one with your name on it.
I'll certainly buy one off of you too to
Don't worry.
for that. Um,
No,
so hey, I
we
got a
will.
question for the chat. The last few podcasts that I've been doing, they've been like on location out in the woods at camp and stuff. Do you guys like this format uh, as well as from like indoors or so? Curious about the feedback. I mean, I'm probably still going to do it regardless, but 'cause
I, I
I
gotta
just
admit,
like
I
to be
like
out
it.
here. Do what?
I like it.
Well, as long as we can get good signal. I haven't been glitching up any, have I?
Not that I've seen. You might ask the
Okay.
op.
Yeah, it seems to be. Okay. Thanks, David. Says this is my favorite format by far. Now, I want people to, oh, thanks, Chris. Uh, to be honest, how many of you guys like it that I'm out in the woods doing the podcast, just hoping something comes up and drags me off?
Mm.
Woods is good. Yeah, woods is. Hey, you hesitated a little too long there, Brian.
It would be kind of great to be the guy that you were actually doing your last live with. I would be famous just de facto. So
Oh my gosh,
I
that
was
is
the last
hilarious.
one to talk, the last one to speak to you before you were carried
Yeah,
away.
yeah, I can see your next podcast. Yeah, I was the last to talk to him. He was making fun of me for looking into Dog Man, and then guess what got him?
Yeah, karma
Hey,
got him.
and this could really happen, and I'm a little bit surprised it hasn't. But somebody lives not about a mile from here, and they have this big dog that is like German Shepherd and Mastiff that
Ooh,
loves me. And sometimes if that dog sees me headed out towards the woods through here, he meets me back at camp. So it could be a real thing that happened one night. He blundered right into the middle of camp and like tackled me.
man. Yeah, we
That
had a
would be
great big
something.
black dog that came into camp one night, scared the crap out of me and Jeff Hatfield and Eric. And yeah, Coleman was there with us too. We were at Canton in the wildlife management area, and this dog literally scared the crap out of us. I mean, we had no idea, but now that we kind of know, that dog, we were staying in a hunter's camp, and I guess that dog had figured out that, if there was somebody staying at that hunter's camp, they could go down there and get hot dogs. But golly, it about gave me a dang heart attack when we hit it with the light. I mean, geez.
Hey, this is a good point. Kansas Squatch said if you were dragged off, everyone would think you were hoaxing. That's
Well, yeah, they probably
that's
blame me for it.
yeah. It's like, yeah, if Brian hadn't been distracting him, he'd still be with us.
Well,
Tonaldo said, just finished reading your Kiamichi Bigfoot. Absolutely loved it. Thank you very much. And Brian said his book he wrote was a labor of love, and it definitely is because uh, unless there's just weird fluke of the universe, neither of us are going to get rich on these things. They're just, I wanted to do it. I've looked into this. I don't know who that was. Um, Wanted to do it, and I've been looking into this subject matter for a long time. So I thought, I think I've got enough for a book, and it's, for an amateur writer like myself, it's been received pretty well, and I appreciate everyone that bought one.
oh yeah.
I'm sure,
Well,
Brian,
we
have you?
don't have enough. Oklahoma has a lot more cryptid activity than what most people think, and we don't really have an abundance of books about this kind of stuff in Oklahoma, and I think that's a shame because we've got the habitat, we've got the food sources, we've got the cover. I I'd be willing to bet money that we've got a lot larger cryptid population in this state than what most people realize. What do they say that we're like ninth in the nation or something? I don't know where they get their data, but I'd be willing to bet you that we're probably closer to the top 4 or 5 in the nation. And but that's just my humble opinion. Yeah.
Well, when you think about it, I mean, look at the diversity of terrain that we have in Oklahoma. I mean, we've
Yeah.
got this swampland in the very far southeast. We got the Kiamichi or the Ouachita Mountains. It's like very much like the Appalachian type mountains here in
Right.
Oklahoma. We've got the mesas out in the far west. We've got prairie. We got the sand dunes. We got the Salt Lake up there. And I think that's closer to your part of the country, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Down in the Wichita, not Washita, the Ouachita, I guess, mountains down in southwest Oklahoma. I mean, that just very, very uh, diverse terrain
Yep.
here. So,
Yeah. We've even got
Squatching
deserts.
Cowboy, Joe Pass, oops, lost him there. Said, I've had the most activity in southeast Oklahoma. And Brian, to go to what the Squatching Cowboy said. And by the way, shout out to him if you've not checked out his YouTube channel. Check out the Squatching Cowboy. Um, but I really think the uptick in activity or whatever in southeast Oklahoma is as someone who grew up running around in that part of the state, it is getting ridiculously overcrowded with people down there.
Hmm.
If you've been
Yeah.
down there lately, go through Hochatown. That is so depressing how that has turned out that I don't even go there anymore. All of that area is just like flooded with people. I mean, I get it, tourism and stuff, but the wilderness down there has really shrunk a lot. And
Hmm.
I mean, you go down there quite a bit. And if you just the changes down there over the past 10, 15 years, we're used to, for instance, and we're losing freedoms all over the United States. That's just a deal. Growing up, you could go to Beavers Bend State Park, any of those. You just drove in. There wasn't a fee to pay. And a politician had a great idea. Hey, we can milk some more money out of the people. So now if you go into Beaver's Bend or whatever, you got to pay a fee to be there, whether you're camping or not. So I fixed that. I just don't go there. I refuse to pay more than people from out of state to go there. My tax dollars already pays for that. So why should I have to pay twice? So I just don't go. But
Well, the problem is our faithful leaders have stolen money from the state and state parks,
yep.
and they've given it to other special interest groups, and they didn't even consult us about it.
Well, of
And
course not.
I don't want to get into politics on this show, but you know, I cannot tell you, knock on wood, not that I want to, but I very seldom ever run into park rangers anymore. And I don't even think that the ones that I have run into aren't real park rangers. It's like they're I don't know what they are. They just go around and collect money from people. And I don't know. I don't like the way things are being managed myself.
Well, here's the deal, and not to get into politics, but this is the sad fact. To our leaders, we are not people. We are merely taxpayers, sources of revenue. That's it. Past that, we aren't. And that's as far as I want to get into it, but I'm sure I'm not unique in having that opinion. We are not
Amen.
people. We are taxpayers, sources of revenue.
We are those
So,
to be governed.
yep.
So, well, hey, how about those Sasquatches?
uh, yeah. Uh, very, Squatchy Cowboy says traffic is like LA. Yeah, it certainly is. Um, Chris Kimball, yeah, very much the same everywhere. It's the Disneyfication of the parks. Um,
Man, yeah. Yeah, Hoochie Town has just gotten ridiculous. Very first time I went down there, I mean, there wasn't hardly anything there but a quick stop, and I think there was a bank there. Now you drive through, and the bank has a flashing billboard that says, "We'll give you loans on rental cabins," and I'm like,
yeah.
"What? You know, who loans money on rent cabins?" But apparently, that's a thing down there. I just, where I come
Tinal-
from,
Tinaldo said, wherever you are, don't let your state turn into Washington State. Very sad. Lived there all my life. It's been ruined. Uh, it's not yet, but it's headed that way. Um, yeah, and what Joe says, not to mention the permits you have to have to video. Now that's national park there. It's not on the state parks here yet. Um,
yeah, we don't have any national parks in Oklahoma.
we got a little bit of one, Washita National Forest, where it peaks into Oklahoma. There, that's national forest.
Is it?
Um, Amon Chris, Dave for president. Never would work, Amon. They would assassinate. They would assassinate me the first week I was in there. Uh, Senator from Honubby area is the reason for all the tourists. Well, and honestly, I mean, I don't mind tourists so much, but it's more of what they've done down in southeast Oklahoma. And I've ran around there my whole life, had friends down there and all, and it's just you can't even drive on certain roads without having land permits to get there. And the bad thing about that, even when you buy the land permit for Weyerhaeuser now, somebody with a lot more money than God come in there and paid them more than that, where you don't know, you've driven onto it and you'll be met by some thugs there. So, hey, you can't be here. I mean, it's
Mm-hmm.
it's getting quite ridiculous.
I agree. I agree. I can remember back in the old days, we used to go do some off-roading stuff down there, and now it's like become very taboo. You can only go do off-roading in certain off-road parks down there now. So,
Yeah, now Can Squatch, the sulfur, that's tribal, which actually falls under that. So I don't, but the tribe gets to govern that for the biggest part, I think. So
right,
I think
right.
I don't want to speak out of turn, but I think they operate a little bit different.
It's in
Um,
better hands.
Yeah, Chris Kimball for down Florida said camping used to be $1.50 a night. Now it's almost as much as a motel.
Yeah. Well, there's also
Yeah,
been a big push in Oklahoma to basically do away with primitive camping sites. A lot of the primitive camping sites are just, they're letting them go to pot, and they're not, saying they're available. You have to rent an RV space in a lot of places. So I think that's absolutely ridiculous too.
yeah. Joe Pass said it cost me $80 just to camp at Three Rivers. That was 4 years ago. No telling what it is now. Hey, is that because you're from out of state, or is that for everybody? Of course, a land permit for me being from Oklahoma is not near that much, but um, is that an out of
Hmm.
state cost or what?
I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah, I haven't
yeah,
been to Three Rivers in a long time.
yeah. There's no telling. Pretty soon
Yeah.
it'll cost you money to. I mean, if our governor has his way, every highway in Oklahoma is going to be a toll road.
Oh yeah. Don't get me started on those.
Hey, why do we
We
keep electing these people? What's
look.
wrong
I
with
get.
us?
We need to have public executions,
We
and
can't talk about that. But no, I
well,
mean, we just need to not elect some of the
well, they're
people we
all
do.
crooked. I mean, if they're
Yeah,
not crooked when they get in, they're quickly turned. You know,
true. Yeah, I don't know, Ken Squatch. I'm sure it's not that different from state to state. I think there's just something about politics that just attracts a
crooks.
person of lesser character. We'll say that. But anyway, how about that Sasquatch?
Yeah, steer us away from this. That's
Yeah.
impossible. I'll
Hold
tell
it,
you
Mark.
what.
Mark says, I'm glad I live in there's so much free camping and access to most areas. Australia, that's
Wow,
cool. You
man.
let's see what part of Australia, northern or southern, are you closer to getting eaten by a great white shark or a crocodile?
Yeah.
I always wanted to go to Australia and check it out, but I don't see that. Yes, mate, Australia. Well, hey, welcome. Glad you could stop by.
Thank
So,
you.
again, my question in your area of Australia, what kind of animal that will eat you is closest? The saltwater crocodiles or the great white sharks? I know those are kind of opposite uh, territories there, but
Mhm.
we could vote in turn. You know, uh, okay, and I'm going to kill the politics right after this, but Pyro makes a very good point. We could vote in term limits, just don't reelect him. Here's the problem with that, Pyro. The people who would approve the term limits are the people who would be put out of a job by the term limits. So that's never going to happen, unfortunately.
Dave, I tell everybody that we'd be better off in the long run if we would just do it like jury duty. And if you just get pulled and it's your time to go to Congress, you could go to Congress. And everybody says, well, Brian, that's just dumb because the people that would be in Congress wouldn't know anything about what was going on. And my answer
Right,
is, what's better, having people that have no idea what's going on, or people that are willing to sell us out for money? I mean, it's
right.
just, I think we'd be better off just having a bunch of people in there that don't know what's going on.
Kind of
So,
do. Hey, Mark said all around, mate. He said there are books you can get to show all the free camping areas. He said in my area, great whites, spiders, and snakes. Uh, so you're down in more the southern area, probably.
mm,
Yeah, I'll tell you, that's one thing we don't have to worry about in Oklahoma, isn't it, Brian? Sharks. I
no,
mean,
sir.
we have our share of venomous snakes. We don't have like the uh, king browns and the what all
Yeah.
else is down there? The fear snakes and the
We
oh,
usually survive getting bit
all of
by
that.
snakes here.
I survived getting bit by not getting bit.
Yeah.
But in my location right here, the number one venomous snake is the copperhead, and
Yeah.
man, I
We've got a
tell
lot
you
more
what,
rattlesnakes up here.
Yeah, you'd have a lot more chance of dying from a rattler bite. But yeah, copperhead, you're going to be miserable a while, but you're probably not going to die.
Yeah.
So yeah, Mark said the Gippsland area, Victoria, all the way from Australia. Well, guys, we've been going about an hour and a half, so we ought to start wrapping this up before too long. How time flies when we're having fun.
Yeah. Dave, are you staying the night?
Probably not. The moon is shining through the trees right now, but I'm gonna check the radar in a minute. Well, the moon is shining, but the clouds are moving up over it. I can see through the trees. Um,
Yeah.
let's see. It's supposed to move in some pretty heavy thunderstorms later, so I'm going to stick around out here for a while, but I'll probably head in. I got to go to work in the morning. I'll probably head home around midnight or so, but I'm going to hang around and see if anything comes around camp. You
Yeah.
know, it'd be really neat if I shine the flashlight over my shoulder.
Hmm. You can, as long as you're not looking in that direction, they won't see it.
Really?
Well, they say that they're always paying attention to what direction you're looking.
No kidding. Well, literally, I have not heard anything walking around me tonight, and it's all leaves. I think I would hear pretty much anything. The only thing I've heard is
Ow.
yeah, an owl and a coyote in the distance earlier. You
Hmm.
know, I've got a good microphone that I can hook up to my phone that picks up. The only problem is when I hook it up to my phone, I can hear me talking, but it knocks you out of the mix. So
Yeah.
I think I need to talk to Will Star about that. He's real savvy to all that stuff, and I'm kind of not.
Tech guru.
Anyway, uh,
Yeah.
and my
Sure.
I've got to get a new laptop. But the laptop I saved some money. I bought a refurb, and it worked real good there for a little bit, and then it just crashed. And and literally the only thing I used that laptop for was I had a Word, Microsoft Word on it to do my writing on, and the other thing was StreamYard. And a lady I know there at Ada, she has a degree and all that stuff. She works on computers, and she looked at it, she thinks that when I bought it, there were some corrupted files in it that just kind of slowly crashed. And I said, well, I noticed it was getting slower about the week before, but she's like, I said, StreamYard's not bad. Everybody uses it. She said, no, it's not that. She looked at everything and she's like, no. So I'm just not going to save money and get a refurb next time. I just
Mm.
get a, but you
Well.
know, my desktop is an HP and I got a refurb and it's worked great for over 5 years now there at the store. So I guess you just never know.
Hmm.
Um,
Hard to say. They say you never get
cat
some of their
mark.
stuff on the computer.
I need to look, make sure. Oh yeah. David Chance, thank you guys. Oh, Pyro, cue the chicken.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tell you. Uh, no, Charlotte, not really. I heard something's moving back there. I think it was some deer though. There's a lot of deer in the area. And then the thunderstorm started moving in. We had golf ball size hail. I mean, it started thundering and lightning, and I headed out, and I got home just in time to get my truck under some trees at the house to avoid the hail damage. But it hailed bad uh,
Mm.
down here last night.
We didn't get none of
Three in
that.
the cat show. I'm looking through all of the comments over here. Guys, I do my best to answer any questions and stuff. So if I look over somebody, it's not on purpose. Well, a spider was just on my arm. You the chicken. Okay, one more time, just for you. Isn't that a horrific sounding chicken?
It sounds like it's dying.
That's crazy. Uh,
Oh my
it's going to
gosh.
be my new prop. Uh, Dave, what do you think of Brent from the Tall Ones channel? I like what he. Well, Brent has been on my show 2 or 3 times. Um, I like Brent.
He's on the right
Yeah,
track.
he is not shy. He's got a different approach than me. If it's people that I know are hoaxers and such as that, I just don't associate with them. Where
Hmm.
Brent, he exposes them and goes after them, and I think he's doing a good thing actually. But yeah, what do I think of Brent? I like Brent. He's a good guy. Uh, Keith McDonald, buddy down there south of the Oklahoma border. Um, Storming in Greenville. Yeah, it's supposed to be kind of moving up here. Oh, Joe Pass said that too. Yeah, I might have found a new prop, but I'm going to have to return the chicken to the granddaughter. It's actually hers. But I was telling Brian, my mom got my granddaughter that chicken to play with, and the look on her face when it made that noise, I don't think she's that amused by it.
It may be yours
Uh,
forever.
uh, ain't no
Make it go
telling.
away,
I may
Papa.
have like coyotes or bobcats or something coming up trying to get it.
Oh,
But yeah,
yeah.
and I
If you
think I've been on 2 or 3 different shows with Brent on there as well. So yeah, he's up in Washington State. Uh,
yeah. He does a good job of calling out the hoaxers eloquently without being crappy.
yeah,
He
and he
does. Yeah.
he does give them an invitation to come on his show and say, hey, that's not right or it is or whatever. More rubber chicken. Yeah, but you know what, Chris? That's the only rubber chicken I've heard that sounds like that.
So,
When Brian was backstage before it went on, I let that thing go, and he goes, "What was that?" uh,
funny.
Will Starr
Yeah.
says, "Brian, is that an Oklahoma State hat?"
Yes, it is.
All right.
Yeah. I'm
You
not a
want to
big
come to
sports
Oklahoma?
fan.
You want to come to Oklahoma and send people into conniption? Is that a word? A conniption? Wear an OU T-shirt and an OSU hat and walk around in public and look at how people look at you.
People, they expect you to go one way or the other, and I don't know what it is. I'm not a big sports fan. I've never been a big sports fan once I realized how corrupt it is, really. But I can't even wear a hat without people wanting to talk to me about it or give me crap about it. And they're, I'm like, I don't even know who won the game. It's kind of funny, really.
Chris wants to know what your wife thinks of the chicken. She doesn't know about the chicken.
Perhaps you could put
Okay.
it under the mattress, when you go.
That's something. Uh,
Yeah.
oh well, they're at giving me advice on buying a laptop now. It says, yeah, Sherry Leah Dennis, check the open box. It just means not in the original package. I buy laptops cheap and they're still new. Good luck in your search. Yeah, I just hate to. I've been using my cell phone on this stuff.
Yeah,
But
me
yeah, I
too.
will look into that. Try wearing a Longhorn shirt, Joe Pass says.
That's a
Uh,
good way to get shot around here.
Joey's mama, thank you for your live. You're keeping my husband out of my hair. Who is that? Who is
Oh,
that? Is that your wife?
that's not my wife. I'm
Thank you
trying to
for your
look at the
live. You're
picture.
keeping my husband out of my hair.
That's not my
Well,
wife.
I'm glad that we provide some small service to mankind or womankind.
Oh, we should take a
Uh,
moment and honor all the patient wives of the squatching community and patient husbands, who
Yeah,
don't divorce it.
I think you're right, Brian, and that's about as much a moment. Okay.
They're just lucky they don't know it.
Yeah, I'm getting a lot of comments. Will Star said you should use that chicken call on your door at your shop instead of the bell. Okay, Joey's mama is Tonaldo's wife. Okay, there we go.
Tell the truth, Joey's mama. You're a closet fan. You just don't want to come out and admit it.
Well, he was watching. Anyway, hey, look, we've been on here for exactly an hour and a half now, and I appreciate everybody for coming on, but my phone battery's actually starting to go low, so I'm going to have to bail out here pretty quick. But anyway, any last minute questions at all? I'll give you 5 more minutes, and then we'll call it. But it's been a pretty fun show, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's a good time. It's a dang shame I couldn't have been in the woods, but I didn't want to go camping this weekend because apparently I got to go camping next weekend.
Oh, really? Cool.
I'm supposed to go up to Kansas to a paranormal convention where I'm going to be giving a little short talk and I'm going to be a panelist. But the cool thing is there's a little hot
Thank you,
spot
Sherry.
just outside of town, and so I'm going to get to go over there and check that out. So
Hey, there's a lot here. Like, go to this. I don't know if he's asking me or you, Brian, but Kansas Squatch said, "Will you be camping at Honubby?"
no, I'm going to be staying in one of the bunk dorms.
Yeah, I won't be camping either. I'll be in a cabin. Um,
You ain't sneaking up on my tent, can Squatch.
no, hey, listen, I got to say this about Honubby. People at camp, I've heard them say, people something's come up to their tent and messed
Yep,
with the tent. Poke your head out and look and see what it is.
yep. Last
Okay, I
year,
know that's harder to say than maybe easier to say than do. Stick your
yep,
flashlight out. Listen, Bigfoot's not out to get you. If he was, he's not very good at it.
yep.
Nobody's been drug off. Shine your light out and see what it is.
I
Uh,
think like year before last, there was a couple that was down in the valley camping close to the woods on what be the west end, and I guess they left in the middle of the night because something was walking around their tent, and I think Chris and Charlotte have had something come up on their tent when they were camping out at Hanabi on the grounds there.
huh. But
I
yeah,
don't know.
that would be a good chance to just stick your cell phone kind of out the tent flap if you didn't want to risk sticking your head out. Snap a picture. You never know. You might just get lucky and whatever. Man, we're getting a lot of comments over here. I'm trying to get all of it. Keith McDonald says, "Thank you both for what you do." Well, thank you, Keith, for your support.
Yeah, Keith.
Will Star Mysteries, the ever-present. When are you two coming up to Ohio? I would like to. I don't see it happening anytime soon. Uh, Charlotte
Well,
Copeland, I didn't know you brought your dog with you. That must be you, Brian, because I haven't had a dog with me. I just had a rubber chicken.
Chewy just
Uh,
made a little cameo appearance. He didn't
Shadow
get that.
Time Rider, YouTube didn't notify. You know what? Every time I make one of these, I put on the thing to notify subscribers. And I know some people get the notification and some don't. I know what it is. That's a deal with YouTube because I do always go into the settings and put notify subscribers. Um, Squatching Cowboy says I'll be out Tuesday. Back in the woods I go finally. Um, Gary Spike Sr. says, I know what messed with my tent down there, LOL. Eric, okay, somebody's laughing. Do you know something I don't, Brian?
What?
You laughed. I don't know if he's laughing at that or not. Um, Gary Spike Sr. said, I know what messed with my tent down there, LOL.
I think if it's what I think he's talking about down at Brown Springs. So
Oh, okay. There's Bruce Beaver. Good show tonight. Well, thank you, Bruce. Appreciate it. Um, I'm not don't know what this. Shadow Time Rider said missing people that were camping had tents that were pushed down. Um, is there a specific area that you're talking about on that? But you know, I have made the comment before that uh, a tent is a sack lunch for something higher up the food chain than we are.
grab and go.
Yeah. He says, I can't remember where I read that though. Let's see. Love the live streams. Thank you, Tonaldo. And thanks to everybody for hanging out with us. And uh, I enjoy
Yeah.
visiting with everybody. And I think Brian does too, or he wouldn't be on here.
Oh yeah. It's good chit chat. Good company.
Yeah, Pyro says they need to call blast down there in the middle of the night to see if they get a response, but let everyone know that's what it is. That's a good point. You're going to do a call blast, let people know what you're doing. Gary Spock said we trailed 15-inch tracks for 150 yards. That's neat. He said Honubby, or no at Honubby, or not at Honubby.
Hmm.
Sherry Lee Duenas says, yes, thank you for sharing this area of crypto with us and keeping us informed. Well, you are very welcome. Uh, Will Starr, thanks for the stream, Dave, and thanks for being on the stream, Brian. Thanks for stopping by, Will. Like I said, if you haven't checked out Will's channel, check it out. Got some neat stuff. He shows a lot of on location satellite pictures of those old historical sighting areas and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Kerry Spock said it was at Honubby, not Brown Springs.
Oh, okay.
Charlotte Copeland gave Chris Bigfoot socks today for his birthday. Well, aren't you special?
That's
That's
really
great, man.
interesting.
Chris
My
got
wife
Bigfoot
gave
socks.
me the same thing.
That's a neat present there. Well, happy birthday, Chris. Uh, I don't know, Joe. Not that I've gotten. Brian, have you got any recent Honubby area Bigfoot reports?
Uh, no. I've had some stuff up north of Tallahena, but nothing down by the Hanabi. So,
Well, okay. Well, guys, I said 5 minutes and it's 20 minutes later. So, anyway, we're going to have to call it because my phone is going to be run down in a little bit and then I'll go blank and you guys will be thinking something did go off with me.
yeah, yeah. Well, Dave, it was
Yeah.
fun.
I've not heard anything in the leaves around camp tonight and don't see any copperheads on the ground around me. So,
You know what they
and the
say? It gets
moon
real
is,
quiet right before they pounce.
yeah, I'm really not that worried about it. But, yeah, hey, thanks, Mark, for stopping by all the way from Australia.
Very
Glad you
cool. Very
did.
cool.
Um, and again, if you're so inclined, check out the link in the description for Brian's book, Oklahoma Cryptids 101. Check out his book. Check out mine if you're inclined. And thanks for stopping by, everybody. I'm really going now. Okay. See y'all next time.
Bye, guys.